Fun fact. Everyone wants the new hotness, but no one wants to wait for it. Well, we'll cover the latest leaks concerning the Galaxy S6, the HTC M9, and more, as well as Apple's first smartwatch on today's show. And if you're looking for a podcast with more than just product talk, well, as a famous retailer used to say, yeah, we've got that. The FCC puts forth its hardest-hitting proposal ever for enforcing net neutrality. Microsoft kills Windows RT. I take a walk on the magenta side with T-Mobile. And RadioShack goes to meet its maker in the great tech Sto-vo-kor in the sky. All the above, plus a new edition of Tough Spot and a listener mailbag bursting at the seams on episode 134 of the Pocketnow Weekly, the once-a-week podcast where we discuss news and opinion from the world of mobile technology, smartphones, tablets, smartwatches, and beyond, all that stuff you wanted when you were a kid. From the studios of WERS in Boston, Massachusetts, I'm Michael Fisher. I'm joined, as usual, by a man who knows the news from his elbow, Chief News Editor Stephen Shank. Happy Friday.
How you doing, Michael?
I'm very well, thank you. And by a man who wears many hats, from Mac Mixing, from youtube.com/Dom, from 9to5Mac, and from 9to5Google. Jesus, our friend Dom Esposito. Welcome to the Weekly, sir.
Hello.
Hello. Jules Wong is our podcast producer, keeping our levels level and our video vibrant. And the time is precisely 12:32 p.m. Good for us for starting on time, and good afternoon to you. Folks, I have a fun fact to share about my own personal relationship with sponsorships. Sometimes I help develop them. Sometimes they're foisted upon me by bosses or by circumstance. And sometimes I doggedly pursue a sponsor because I really love the product they offer. This is one of those times. I've been using their product for about 6 months. Dom can attest to it. Steven can attest to it. Jules shot our first video of it, so he can certainly attest to it. So I'm proud to announce that this episode of the Pocketnow Weekly is brought to you by LD West and their original holster, which I'm wearing now. A stylish, functional, and secure solution to a problem we all face daily. The suspender-style holster is a one-size-fits-all accessory that cradles your phone under your right arm and your wallet under the left, making it fast and easy to get to either one, whether you're standing up or sitting down. Every LD West original comes with a richly detailed wallet and a phone pouch in either small, medium, or large size, available in one of 5 colors, brown, red, black, tan, or gray. It's available exclusively at LD West for $119.99 Canadian. So do what I did. Solve your phone bulge problem. And look pretty cool doing it. Pick up an LD West original holster today. Stephen, I believe you've got some instructions with regard to readers, watchers, listeners, all the above.
And people on the show, don't say bulge problems on the air.
Good point. Good point.
Yes, if you are watching live, and we hope that you are, you can participate with Google Hangouts with our Q&A section. Submitting questions you'd like us to address on the air. The other viewers will vote on the ones that they like the best, and if they're germane to what we're talking about, heck, maybe if they're even off topic, but they're good enough, we'll do our best to address them live. If we don't get to your question, or if you think about something after the fact, maybe when listening to our high-quality download later on, you can always send us an email. We like to answer these listener mails, 2 or 3 each program, and hopefully we'll get to it on a future show. So definitely contribute. We want to hear from you.
And a reminder, no matter how you're watching or listening, when you send email to the show at podcast@pocketnow.com, make it brief. It broke my heart this morning. I woke up a little early. I was like, I've got a lot of listener mail to read. Let me go read it. And so much of it was so good, but way too long for the show. As you can tell, we're long-winded as it is. We run long as it is. We can't read these epic essays you're sending. So I have a suggestion. First, send a shorter email if you want it read on the air. But second, guys, when they come to the podcast email inbox and we don't read them on the air, they just die. They just don't go anywhere, and they only come into my head. And then I'm like, oh, that was great, but no one else will ever see them. So leave them as a comment instead on the podcast post at Pocketnow. So then other people, there was a great conversation on last week's podcast shell post about Windows Phone versus iPhone. So, people will look at the shell post if there are cool comments there. So leave them there, please, if you just want to editorialize.
Wait a second. I thought you were complaining about that. It was just people trolling about Windows Phone.
When it comes to the podcast, we do well on downloads, we do well on YouTube, but at pocketnow.com, the podcast shell posts are probably the least trafficked item we post, and anything that gets more eyeballs onto those, is a good thing.
Any news is good news.
Yeah. Well, I think we've done enough talking about ourselves and the great insights into the big old P machine. Dom frickin' Esposito, how are things on the western part of this great continent of ours? Are you ready for MWC? What's happening? Where do you live? What's your story? Tell us everything so that people know who we're talking to.
Yeah, I mean, things are going good over here. I'm from Phoenix, Arizona, and it's not hot right now this time of year, so that's a good thing for sure. I haven't really had to use the AC in a while, so I'm pretty happy about that.
Yeah, by not hot, what do you mean? Like 65 every day?
No, I mean like.
Because you can just go to hell if that's what it is.
Well, yeah, it's 63 outside right now.
Oh God.
Oh man, that is a rough life,
tough
dude.
stuff.
Well, no, I mean, come on, it gets to 120 in the summer. I mean,
You're right. Dude.
All right, fair enough.
Looking forward to
summers.
MWC.
Yeah.
Definitely looking forward to MWC and all the goodies that are to come from that whole conference. That should be a fun time. As we had at CES as well, and IFA and stuff like that. It should be good times.
IFA was, I feel like IFA was more fun because I wasn't sick at IFA. But yeah, we're going to have a ball at MWC, and I'm glad you're going to be there. What do you cover, Mobile Dom, so that, not Mobile Dom. Mobile Dom is someone else. What do you cover, Dom Esposito?
Yeah, that works.
In terms of the mobile arena, what are your principal areas of coverage for those not familiar?
I mean, I'm definitely into a lot of the smartphone and tablet game, but I really don't try to limit myself. I mean, you'll find me covering cameras, you'll find me covering other miscellaneous gadgets, things like that. Basically anything that I see fit that has to do with technology. I'm just a big tech nerd at the end of the day.
Equal opportunity nerd.
Yeah, equal opportunity nerd, yeah.
Fun fact, when I saw Dom at CES this last time, I was running around harried in one of these after shows. It was either Showstoppers or Pepcom. I'm running around trying to get coverage of stuff. I don't have enough time. I'm sweating. I don't even have time to eat. And I run into Dom, and he's like, I'm like, what are you doing, man? And he's like, I mean, I'm just here to have fun. I'm not really filming anything.
Just living, man.
Just hanging out.
I was just hanging out at I try to take a little time, at least from like, CES was the first time I actually tried to do that, is take a little time at the event to just kind of relax and like get your thoughts together, get your head together, because if you're always rushing around and stuff, you end up being super stressful, and then it's not a fun, memorable time. You know what I mean? I get work.
Exactly.
Don't get me wrong. I do work.
But then you sit down with like some cucumber water afterwards. You just relax a little. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Dom, you are an example for all of us who work in this industry. I think we all do need to learn how to sit down and chill for a second at a trade show. Not always possible to do, but man, I'm going to try and follow your example. But until then, we've got some news to cover, and a lot of stuff has gone on. So, Jules, go ahead and take us into the news segment, if you would. And kicking us off is probably the biggest story on the internet, one of the biggest stories in communications. We don't have enough time. If we wanted to cover it and do it justice, we would take the entire episode to do so. We don't have time for that, but it would have been criminal to avoid it altogether. So, Stephen, tell us exactly what the FCC is doing for us, for the internet, and for the world at large.
They're doing exactly what they should be doing, which is listening to the voices of internet users rather than the companies behind these things. So what's going on here is the fight for net neutrality. This has been going back and forth for years now. FCC putting up rules, carriers challenging them in court saying, no, you can't do that. It's all been leading up to a head, which is this ruling. Is the FCC going to classify broadband internet, mobile internet as a utility and be able to regulate it as such? Back in the fall, President Obama told the FCC, I really want you guys to do this. There's been this vote coming up later in the month here. I think we're maybe 19 days away from it right now. And FCC head Tom Wheeler earlier this week laid out his plan crystal clear. He's going to push the issue with the FCC voting on this Title II reclassification. Now, it's not going to be exactly like things were with the phone company when that was set as a common carrier. So some of the rules don't apply, things like tariffs, fees, the last mile bundling of how the service actually gets from these back-end hauls to your door. But the important thing is that the these rules in place will prohibit carriers from, assuming these rules get passed, the rules that are being proposed will prohibit carriers from blocking otherwise illegal content, throttling content based on classification. There will be no fast lanes. Companies won't be able to pay extra to have their content be given a priority. And all of this will apply to mobile as well as to wired internet, which in the past there's been different rules for depending on how the data came to you. That could conceivably no longer be the case. So this is huge. There's still the possibility that there could be loopholes in here. Carriers are destined to countersue or sue the FCC to try to stop them from doing this. This battle far from over, but huge progress. This is exactly where we've been hoping to see things go for a long time now. And if all this passes as we'd like it to, this could do a lot to really secure the future of the internet as we've known it so far, and to make it possible for startups, the companies that gave us things like Google and Facebook in the first place, for these companies to exist in the future and not just be dominated by the current big players with the money to throw at traffic prioritization. So it's awesome. I could not be happier about this.
I think we've all been following the story to some degree, but Dom, how close or far have you been on this? What is your stance on it? I feel like it's you ask somebody in the tech space that, and it's basically like 95% of everyone is like, yeah, net neutrality is a really, really good idea, because without it, I wouldn't be in this business because the internet wouldn't exist as it does today. But what's your feeling?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that just essentially having our own freedoms online is definitely a necessary thing. You know, we need. I haven't been following this whole net neutrality thing a whole lot, but I'm on the side of kind of freeing things up like that. I mean, I hate the politics and the greed that comes into play when we start talking about, you know, the people that try to regulate these things, specifically maybe carriers or broadband services and things like that. It's really annoying in my opinion.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, we have an interesting question in listener mail, which will like let us circle back to this and button up the show on this issue again, because someone wrote in and asked about pricing internet access based on speed, and you know the exact opposite of this, right? So
even if this opens up for the content, there could be new restrictions down the road. People are talking about maybe like speed limitations. We might see the return of plans that aren't just unlimited, especially for broadband internet. Now we're used to having all you can eat. Yeah, with Comcast, there's like a 250 gig limit, but nobody hits that unless you're really serious about your media consumption here. But
yeah. Yeah,
All
well,
right.
I mean, for me, I can eat through some video or some bandwidth pretty fast just uploading video. You know, each video could be 2 to 3 gigabytes in size.
This is true. Yeah, I was talking a lot about this with my recent carrier switch over too, because yeah, every single ISP, whether it's mobile or landline, is acutely aware of what types of packets are passing over their network, and you know, the peer-to-peer stuff, the endless torrenting and all that kind of stuff that people always get snagged for is always a kind of a weirdo gray area, because it's like, all right, well, I don't do that, but what if they decide to revise those requirements for throttling down?
Yeah, and like they say how you're going to be allowed to throttle or block illegal services. So what's that going to mean? Like, how do you spot an illegal service? Is this going to empower carriers to keep on scanning for all that torrent traffic? And there are very legitimate torrents out there, but are they going to be then analyzing everything you do, looking for, you know, scanning for copyright checks? And there's a lot of ways this could still be murky, but I'm really happy to see these rules about not blocking the legal services. There are all these things now that you could do, you're technically able to do, but your carrier says you can't. Like if you read through your terms of service on your mobile thing, it probably says you can't use this account for something automated. Like you can't just take your T-Mobile prepaid SIM and put it in like a web-connected baby monitor or something.
No Bitcoin mining.
Yeah, it's things like Internet of Things type things, or even like running a personal server. If ports are blocked for a home broadband, you can't have your web server. I think the way I'm reading this, it would be allowed.
Then.
What's that?
What'd you say, Dan?
To have back to my Mac.
Oh, right.
Yeah, because that's kind of automated, right?
Right, that's a server.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's going to be, as you said, Stephen, we're at the proposal phase on this. There's going to be a lot more to talk about in the weeks ahead, and I just wanted to touch on it.
We should know by the end of the month, I think.
All right, good.
Where FCC's going.
Well, we'll circle back on this and cover it then. And true to the internet's usual form, there's already a partisan political debate happening in the comments of this piece. So jump on over there, folks. Get in on it, and I'm sure you'll all convince the other of the faults of your political views. Good times, Internet.
Internet arguments end. Did everyone? Oh no, I was wrong. I'm going to happily accept your position now.
Right.
Because you argued it so well.
Yeah, that always happens.
You win 10 internets.
Let's move into stuff that we handle more often on a day-to-day basis. A lot of leaks this week. A lot of leaks, starting with Samsung ones in two separate, different accessory leaks that look either great or horrible, depending on your perspective.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's like I feel like this is quite a lot of leaks for this whole situation.
Yeah,
I mean,
it
seems like an Apple event is coming up or something. So many damn leaks on the product.
I'm actually quite surprised to see these kind of leaks coming out of Samsung, because we have not we've grown used to the HTC ones, which we're going to talk about in a second. As we say pretty often, HTC is one of the most aggressively leaked companies on the internet in terms of smartphones. It really is. So that's not really a surprise anymore. But to see the S6 this relatively early, I mean we're a little less than a month out from the presumed unveiling. But do we think this is accurate? I mean, this looks to have some pretty solid credentials behind it, Stephen.
No, well, we haven't seen Samsung leaks, as near as I can tell. We've seen that component shop, but we're looking at some of these most recent ones are renders, and they're coming from a case manufacturer. And there are a lot of pictures out there, but all the ones for the past day or two are coming from the same company. These Verus guys.
There was one from Spigen as well, but I don't even know if I trust that at all.
Yeah, we've seen. There
was a Spigen one on. They listed a case on Amazon or something like that.
Really?
Yeah. Let me see.
I don't know if we were reporting on that one.
Yeah. There's. I know that just Google it. They listed a case on Amazon. It was from Spigen, but it didn't show it was just like a front shot. It wasn't a side profile or anything like that. So it really could be anything, because I mean from the front, apparently the Galaxy S6 allegedly looks like the Galaxy S5 from the front. So who knows? But it's kind of questionable,
And they're not even consistent. Like if you look at, there's a post I ran yesterday that had these schematic leaks and also a couple of the Verus cases. And we're looking at two phones. These are supposedly cases from the same manufacturer. They do not look like the same device. They don't look like the same size, although there's that same lens arrangement on the back. It's different in the two. One has the flash on top of the little strip with a heart rate sensor. One has a flash on the bottom. One has the lens jutting out 4 or 5 inches. It's not that bad. Jutting out a substantial amount. One of them looks a little more resigned. I think that this is the right direction. I believe that these companies have seen or have reason to believe that this is how the phone will appear. Sometimes I worry that these case manufacturers see some leak. They build their designs in advance to be even just renders, if this isn't even real products. They build these designs to anticipate the phone. Maybe maybe they're not basing this on as reliable intel as we would like to think. They're just trying to get ahead of the curve there, so they have stock ready when the phone is announced. I don't know. I think we're getting closer. I'm not sure where
Dom has shared a link to an Android Authority story from Bogdan, our friend, and it was saying not to take these all that seriously because why? What are these just templates that are these case designs are being plugged into a placeholder, and that's why I can't. This is a long article actually.
Well, here's the thing that I'm seeing, right? Okay, first of all, let's mention the consistency between the design of the flash and heart rate sensor layout compared to the Verus case, which is identical. And this one came out before the other one. Now, they could just be basing their renders off of this original concept, but in my experience, Spigen has a pretty good track record of putting out cases early that fit the device. I've actually had some early Ford devices in the past that fit the device when it was released months in advance. So they do have a solid, at least in my experience, they have a solid track record for that kind of stuff. But again, who knows? This could just be based off of some game of telephone, and they have some specifications or dimensions that were leaked out.
Yeah, and speaking of how it would fit even with a pre-release case, if you look at some of these schematics and the dimensions we've been seeing, the numbers aren't exactly matching between everyone, but they're really, really close, to the tune of 0.1%. So you have the feeling like they're onto something here. I don't know if anyone's exactly right about it, but they're all probably really close.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, it is interesting though that, like I said, that I mean the two images, like the flash and the camera and stuff match up, but it doesn't. It's too hard to see in both images because the Verus image is like pretty low resolution as far as
It
things
is, yeah.
go. But it doesn't. I mean, to me, it doesn't look like the back side matches up, like the texture. Like on the back side of the Spigen one, it shows that little perforated design that we're used to on the Galaxy S5, and with the Verus one, I don't exactly see that. So I don't know. I mean,
There is
either
one
way,
commonality, though, right? I mean, there's one commonality across everything, across the schematics, across the various case renders, and that's a protruding camera. The degree to which it protrudes is
That's
not.
the question. I
Yeah,
mean, it protruded on the GS5. Is it going to be the same thing? A little worse? A lot worse? I don't know.
and I guess my question is, how much do we care? I mean, some of the stuff that we were seeing in this leaks would indicate that it's probably going to be an iPhone 6 type thickness of the hardware, or possibly rather not probably.
the rumor is 7.2 millimeters currently.
Oh, that was the
Supposedly.
rumor, but it got bumped down to
They're
6.6,
the
right?
695, 691.
Oh, okay. Well, that's still
There we go.
ridiculously thin, and in that case, I would definitely see the camera protruding a little more.
Yeah, it
if
has
it's
to.
going to be
Right?
that thin.
Especially if they're going to do something fancy and like, I mean, if it's going to stick out as much as it is in these renders, which is a big if, maybe that would almost seem to require some sort of hardware-based optical stabilization or something. Of the type that they're doing in the Note 4, which would be
Which I
great
wouldn't
because
be
the Note 4's
opposed to.
camera is awesome. Yeah, I want to say last week we were talking cameras and Android phones, and someone very rightly called us out saying, "Hey, listen, someone's asking about great Android camera recommendations. You guys didn't even mention the Note 4. That's a good point. We should have mentioned that because that has a really good camera. So
I think so, yeah.
yeah, so if this is the same camera hardware, and it has to protrude because it's on a 6.91 millimeter thick phone, fine by me. What about the curves? What about the edges?
I
the
think
edge. Go ahead, Dom.
I have to say that just looking at like the fourth image or the fourth device in that render, that leaked render, I actually really do like the look of that profile. Like it looks really slick. I don't know why. I wasn't like the biggest fan of the Note Edge, but I can get used to the edge screen. It's not like it's just one of those things that's there if you need it, cool. If not, or it doesn't matter. But I do like the profile look. I think it looks pretty sleek, especially in the form factor that the S6 would possibly come in.
So I like the utility of the edge screen, but I didn't like how it requires the phone to be asymmetrical. Like how if you look at it in cross section, it kind of looks like a tilde or another kind of punctuation mark.
What happened to these rumors about the double-edged Galaxy S Edge?
What did happen to those rumors?
People were saying that actually. People were saying that. I think what was it? I think Phone Arena posted an article that said that this picture showed the dual edge, and I was like, wait a second, here, you can't see the dual edge, and they were saying, well, because the fourth smartphone in the image has the edge on the right side, while the fifth smartphone in the image has it on the left side.
Oh, that's a good point.
CNET, I think CNET Korea or CNET were saying that, well, maybe that's because they're making one for people that are right-handed and one for people that are left-handed, because that was the big problem with the Note Edge, in my opinion, is that if you were left-handed, you had to use the phone upside down, which is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. I mean, kudos on Samsung for building that mode in, but yeah, using a phone with the home button at the top of the screen is
not cool.
Not fun. Yeah, no. So okay.
Yeah.
Well,
it looks cool.
But we don't have anything new and concrete in terms of edge rumors, right? And the double edge thing is just probably dead at this point, Steven?
Yeah, it seemed like it was building up a lot of steam. It started off as this, it sounded like a shot in the dark, wild analyst speculation, but then it really started picking up momentum in the last month or so, and I'm kind of surprised we haven't, considering all of these renders we've seen of the regular S6, these renders of an edge version with single edge version, we really haven't seen anything convincing that says that this dual edged is actually in production. So maybe it's vaporware. I don't know.
Roger that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what to believe.
And me either. And I know that there's going to be 3 more weeks or 4 more weeks of speculation on this. So I think we can move on to the other one that this rate, I mean, what, Stephen?
We need to have like a pre-MWC, some sort of ground squirrel that emerges and tells us how much longer till the new flagships are here.
That's true. Well, it's Barcelona. We wouldn't be like a toucan or something, but some other fanciful Spanish bird come out of its birdhouse and immediately turn around or fly away, and that'll tell us.
Either way, this will not be the last leak that we see.
No. And also, I mean, at this rate, we're going to see the M9 in its entirety, probably at in 12 days rather than waiting for the official reveal, because it's just leaking every day. We have more shots of the back of the thing, shots of the thing in a dot view case. Stephen, is there anything really new here aside from the bling bling gold?
No, I mean, I'm not sure we're getting any closer, because there's been this kind of contrasting ideas of how the 1M9 will look. This, pure glass version, we had that EvLeaks render, and we hadn't seen a back for that, I don't think. And then there's this one, which we've seen front pics of, that looked like a very, very slightly modified 1M8, and then around back, dropping the duo camera. But then we've had other rumors saying, no, duo camera's still happening, or maybe it's only going to happen on the M9 Plus. There's a lot of options flying around right now. When we just see individual shots like this, it's hard to know exactly what we're looking at. Is this the regular-sized phone? Is this the bigger one? I'm not quite sure who's really onto the true story here, because there's a couple different ways this could be going. They can't all be true, or if they are, HTC's releasing a hell of a lot more devices than we were anticipating. But
I think that there's also the possibility, and it might have been said somewhere, I think I read this somewhere online, that they're using dummy devices.
Yeah,
like
someone raised that.
Just to hide their product, which would be smart. I don't know exactly if they're doing that or not, but that would be a good way to hide it. Though I can definitely say that I'd rather focus more on one camera than dual cameras. Just putting that out there.
Yeah, and I agree. And furthermore, I wonder if HTC has this usage info, direct from the subscribers to determine how often the duo camera fancy modes are actually used. I doubt it. That seems like pretty deep level stuff that they wouldn't be getting from every handset, and there would probably be an uproar if they did. But I wish I could see it. I wish I could tell what percentage of users are actually employing the duo camera for any purpose, and I would wager that it's below 7%.
Remembering. Don't get me wrong. I used it when it came out. I thought it was cool, and I had fun with it and stuff. But then it wore off after a while, and I didn't really use it as much. And I mean, to be honest, I would rather have like just a solid, I hate to compare it, but a solid Note 4 caliber camera inside of the HTC One M9.
Absolutely.
It's like the 24 features we see on any Samsung flagship. They make really good presentation fodder, and you play with them in the store. They're maybe good to demo the device, but then you use them a couple times. Okay, that's neat. I just need reliable everyday stuff now.
Yeah, definitely.
Right, especially since you can replicate the essential effect of the duo camera with software on every platform there is.
A week or a month after the 1M8 premiered last year, we saw someone else, I forget who, it wasn't even Google, doing this in pure software.
It was Google doing it with the Google camera software, but before then even the Lumia camera could do it, or the Lumia Refocus app could do it on Windows Phone.
Yeah.
So it was before the 1M8 was released even.
And we still don't have a real Lytro style, what do they call those, panoptic lens cameras on a smartphone.
Right. We have all these ones that kind of protrude a bit.
Yeah, big old telescope coming out the back.
That'll be okay.
So I just don't see, I feel like HTC, unless they have, and I'm sure they have more data than I do because I'm just wildly speculating here, but, I can't imagine that so many people are making use of the duo camera hardware that they're going to keep it on this line. If we're not seeing it in these leaked devices, if there's one thing to believe about these leaks, I think it's that the duo camera is probably going to have been a one-off thing. But
is that a bad thing for, do you guys think that is that a bad thing or not for HTC to admit that it didn't work out, or is that even admitting that it didn't work out, or is that just trying new things and trying to be innovative in the space?
They'll never admit that it didn't work out. They'll always say, it was great. It was everyone used it, but we just decided to go in a different direction.
We don't know if it worked out or not. I mean, like I said, I used it a little bit in the beginning for sure, so it wasn't a complete useless feature on my phone. I did take advantage of it.
Yeah.
Then it wore off.
Right, and well, and maybe I would have used it more if it actually worked better, because as you can see in the
Yeah.
video we're showing you, like even after some software updates, 3D effect was pretty cool. But even after some software updates, like the trimming effect, the foreground to background separation, that was always muddy, and I think it still
Yeah.
is today.
Now, I wonder if we get, if you have a different opinion, if we got hardware like had been in at least one rumor suggesting that this might be a 20.7 megapixel main camera paired with the dinky little 2 megapixel dual camera sensor. I wonder if having a higher res non-ultra pixel primary shooter would make it more impressive, or if it's still going to be bogged down by the low res depth sensor.
I think they gotta be both. I mean, I would say, I mean, I'm not like a camera, technology expert, but I would say that like maybe a 5 megapixel duo camera and a 20.7. I think that the clarity would definitely be there with the main image. It's just getting that depth sensor to
Yeah, we get the murky
accurately
edges when you
grab that
have the low
information.
res.
Yeah, 2 megapixels is not a lot to get detail.
Right. Well, I guess we'll have to see on that. We do have to kind of move along here, but I can't wait to take a look at this, because one thing HTC always does is bring in a viewfinder that's full of really fun stuff. We saw some of it in that video stuff, some of that background foregrounder stuff that the duo camera does enable. That was a lot of fun, some of the 3D stuff, but yeah, you can only use it on the handset. You can't really share them, it's like whatever, but it's still fun to use. And Stephen, as you said, it's great presentation fodder, so I think it's going to be at the very least exciting to look at initially.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's talk about Windows 10 Phone. Is that what we're calling it, by the way? Is this an SEO thing, or why are we? Because it's not Windows. It's Windows 10.
Windows 10, yeah.
But it's Windows 10 Phone Edition. But they're not
We
doing
haven't
that
worked
because
this
they're
out. I
Windows
noticed.
Phone 7 series.
Yeah, we haven't even been internally consistent with how we tag this thing on the site. We're going to have to work this out. But no one knows what to call it, because when you're talking about it, you want to make it clear we're talking about the smartphone version of this. Microsoft, I can understand the idea, the point of having consistent branding, but it's annoying when you want to have specificity without going into a lot of detail. So,
no doubt.
Windows 10, lowercase phone, I don't know. There's got to be a better way to do this.
Yeah. Well, we've seen some screenshots surface at the very least, confirming some of the stuff that Joe Belfiore was showing off on stage in Seattle a couple weeks back, and some of this stuff, none of it is groundbreaking, but it's once again Windows Phone catching up to its competitors in terms of feature load and just user experience. Now, I say catching up, and I don't mean it with all my heart, because in some ways Windows Phone was much better than its competitors, and now it's just sort of playing this Me Too game, it seems, increasingly. But I'm going to be very happy to see more toggles in my drop-down action center. I'm going to be very happy to see a redone settings screen so that I don't have to scroll through an endless list that has no icons and no visual cues whatsoever. And I'm apparently going to be really excited to see this quote on the update screen. Stephen, what's the story here? Is this real?
Oh, we heard about this in a report before we had the screenshots. It's I believe this is from the Super Bowl last weekend. It's kind of a underdog rising to success again. Microsoft would really like to be that underdog, becoming king of the mobile market after falling to this third place stance. And yeah, we see a screenshot that confirms it's there. I don't know if this is going to be turning up in the actual official release. This sort of feels like, especially with an internal testing. This is a Seattle football team, so it might just be something for Microsoft employees. I don't know that we'll see it in the release, but
you know what's funny? I didn't know. First of all, I didn't know that was Russell Wilson, the football player. I thought that they were quoting, like some famous poet. And then now that I realize that that's a quote from Russell Wilson, the football player, I realize that that's my friend's cousin. So I'll have to tell him that his cousin is Windows Phone famous now as well.
Yeah, that's why his fame is important. It's because of the Windows Phone, not the professional sports. That's
right. Jules would like me to emphasize, but that also, yes, we beat them, Jules. Yes, I know. This podcast comes to you from Boston, where people care about the Patriots. People who are not me, so we're not going to talk about it. But yes, Jules, you're right. That was the outcome of the Super Bowl.
And we've seen some more screenshots since these images we're looking at here leaked. Some ones from earlier today.
Just today, right?
Yeah, some new apps in there. Not a ton. It's just a lot of these little things. There's a new audio recording app. Changes to how alarms are set. Some others. Nothing really, jaw-dropping, but that's not what we're expecting for this. It's a new look, some tweaks here and there. Really, I think we're just anxious to see this thing get released. And I don't know if that's going to be next week.
It's not going to be. My little pinky tells me we're going to be waiting on that for quite a while because I have heard from the famous sources familiar with the matter that this thing is still in hard crash territory, and it's got a lot.
But it is coming.
Yep. Tom, do you carry a Windows? Do you have much experience with Windows phones at all?
Not a whole lot of experience. I've been kind of waiting for them to continue playing that Me Too game so that I could thoroughly enjoy a Windows Phone experience, because I really didn't want to like jump headfirst into it and it not offer everything that I needed and have a bad taste in my mouth from that.
Sure.
And so they've been actively building it up a lot over the last year or so, and I'm looking forward to kind of giving it a try when it's really prime time stuff. I don't know. In my opinion, from an outsider view, it just doesn't always seem as up to the same kind of expectations that you get with Android and iOS.
You're speaking with the caution of a man who has run into the Windows Phone user base in the comments once or twice.
Yeah.
Stephen, what were you going to try and say?
Dom, what's your desktop platform? Are you a
10.
Windows user? Okay, so you're not even in the Windows ecosystem at all. I wonder if it'd be a little easier for people to.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a big deal, I can run Parallels or something.
Yeah.
True.
But I'm sure if I was connected in that, it would be a much easier step.
Not necessarily. I mean, I want to see more what's it called? More interactivity between Windows Desktop and Windows Phone. We're not going to see more of it really until 10. So aside from the aesthetic parallels, I use a Mac on the desktop too, and I use a Windows Phone, and I use an Android phone. I use a lot of stuff. But
you're not going to be downloading the preview and getting the full Windows 10 experience, even if you're getting how the mobile platform's going to look. The whole integration, working with apps between devices, Xbox, PC, all that beautiful stuff.
Right. My friend is running the preview, though. My friend and roommate is running the Windows 10 preview on his MacBook Pro, and he asked Cortana. He said he did the Hey Cortana call up the other day, and I was so jealous. I was so angry. I just wanted to strike him about the face because I had a Lumia 830, and I can't even do Hey Cortana because it doesn't have a Snapdragon 800. But anyway, my review of that thing is up. Anyway, we just finished a ton of Windows Phone coverage on the site. I did the Microsoft HD10. What everyone in the comments is
the charger
man's Chromecast. No, the display.
The HD thing, yeah,
the screen sharing thing. And I did the charger before that, and I just did another a tilt charger that's going up today. And then the tile art, modify your home screen and all that kind of stuff, and Skyward Arts stuff. I did. So it's really crazy Windows Phone coverage on Pocketnow these days. It's fun times.
I have to say, I mean, I've used it before. It's a very smooth experience.
It is.
Without a doubt. I think just some things that were lacking for me in certain specific areas.
Generally speaking, it's I think it's gotten easier for people to move from another platform to Windows Phone since the 8.1 update. Because of things like Action Center. It's like, oh, okay, well, on the other two platforms, I can reach up to the notification center and pull down. Now I'm used to that already. That's not the move I wanted them to make necessarily, but it's the one they did. So I do think it gets, and the global sharing, the universal sharing within the framework and stuff like that. Like it's much more like its competitors now, which makes it easier to switch to it. A big part of me doesn't like that because, of course,
there's already enough of their competitors out there that do the same thing.
Yes, and like the Spotify app is a good example. It just got an update on Windows Phone that essentially makes it identical to the versions on iOS and Android. And that's great for continuity, but it eliminates all of the advantages that Windows Phone had, like the panel swiping and the fact that you don't have to reach up to the upper left for no good reason to go back, which has been a dumb idea since it started. And Windows Phone, when it came out, didn't require that. It was much smarter than that, and it's just becoming not dumber, but it's becoming dumber.
Well put.
It makes these compromises. Thank you. But anyway, that's I ranted about Microsoft last week. I think I talked a little too much about that last week. I'm not going to talk about it much this week. But we have good news out of Microsoft. If you like the Sunrise calendar, maybe good news, maybe not. Steven?
Yeah.
Microsoft bought these guys.
It's been acquiring a bunch of productivity stuff. Yeah, it bought Sunrise Calendar reportedly for $100 million. We're not sure what it's going to do with it just yet, but presumably integrate it into its current Office cloud-based things. And this is sort of weird for a company that's been in the the organization productivity game for seemingly forever now with its Office suite, and now it's snatching up these younger guys to implement their features. Yeah, but is Microsoft getting a little scared of its competition here? I don't know.
It's clean. I have to say, the calendar app is clean. So at least they're.
That's a good thing.
I feel like at least they're making moves in the direction with people that kind of know what they're doing in that space.
Yeah, some fresh blood.
Yeah.
I feel like this is. I feel like this is part of their broadening campaign to be this kind of software platform. You know what I mean? But were people sitting up and saying, "Man, I really hate the Outlook calendar. This needs to be better." Like, I feel like that wasn't one of the pain points of the Microsoft experience. So it's got to be something more than them just trying to fix this with a buy. You know what I mean?
Maybe just maybe the technology that's driving behind it, or I don't know, who knows, maybe Sunrise Calendar has like patents for certain things, or so there's got to be something that Microsoft wants specifically from within that app, unless they just really like the team of people, which doesn't seem likely.
Yeah. And anytime
$100 million worth of likely.
Yeah, every time I hear about that, I'm always wary because my thoughts flash back to BlackBerry's acquisition of the Astonishing Tribe, and we got all these stories about, it's going to make BlackBerry so awesome, and then what we got was a handful of awesome-looking apps on BlackBerry 10, and then everyone from the Astonishing Tribe left, or not everyone, but a lot of people did. So I hope it's more than that, and I also would like this to mean that Sunrise Calendar is maybe going to come to Windows Phone very quickly. But as we've seen from Microsoft's moves, Windows Phone is not their number one priority. They'll probably release updates for the Sunrise apps on every other platform before they release a native Sunrise app for Windows Phone. But I hope I'm wrong. Right. Speaking of not that, Microsoft is killing Windows RT. Is anyone crying about this?
Not even killing RT. Just leaving the house, not feeding RT, and then letting whatever happens happen.
Oh.
I mean, well, isn't it? I mean, this Windows 10 is going to essentially just take the place of everything.
There's no need for RT going forward.
I think it was kind of I don't know. I don't want to say a dumb idea to begin with, but maybe
I'll say it's a dumb idea to begin with.
Yeah. I thought it was really stupid that you have the Surface RT and then the real Surface that you should buy.
Right. It became very difficult to recommend any non-pro product in the Windows line. Yeah.
So it's a good thing that they're getting rid of that and just kind of unifying it all with one OS, which is also said to be able to run on the new Raspberry Pi 2 as well.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. We had someone write in complaining about that, actually, is that it can run on apparently really, really limited hardware, yet Microsoft has made the decision not to upgrade any of the RT devices to Windows 10. Or, no, excuse me, I'm misspeaking. They've made the decision not to upgrade a specific device to Windows 10, and that's the Lumia 2520 we're looking at on our screen right now. So they're going to let that die, or, whatever. They're going to let it exist with Windows RT for as long as you want to put up with that. But why not? If you can get Windows 10 to run on a Raspberry Pi, why not offer an upgrade path?
Because reasons, Michael.
What?
Reasons.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I guess with hardware like the 2520, which I think runs on a Snapdragon 800, if I'm not mistaken, you would want to run the Windows 10 Phone Edition or something like that. But even then, we saw a demo on stage showing that looks pretty good on a tablet, the slimmed down Windows 10. In both orientations. So it's a mystery to me why this is not supported. I think the 2520 is really good hardware, too. I think I cited it as the tablet that made Windows RT attractive.
Yeah, there's gotta. I mean, I don't think that'll stick for long. Why not? Like you said, why? There's no reason why they shouldn't update this to Windows 10.
Yeah.
I mean, unless there's some technical reason that we have no idea about, but just from the surface here, no pun intended. Looks like there's no there's no reason not to do it.
Right. Well, we'll see. I'm sure that maybe there will be a community of people who rally behind the 2520 like they rallied behind the HTC. Oh God, I'm blanking on it.
The Windows Phone?
HD2. Thank you. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, maybe we'll be running Windows 3.1 on the 2520 before we know it.
Yeah, don't count on it.
Let's switch to smartwatches. Apple Watch details are revealed
gosh.
by an iOS companion app. Dom has a strong feeling on this, but I don't know what it is.
No, I don't know.
What's up?
Personally, I think this Apple Watch is super overhyped.
Yeah?
I don't know.
It's their first wearable.
I'm not a fan of it at all yet. I'm not. Oh no, I know, but I'm not a fan of it at all yet. Like I don't feel the design. Obviously, I haven't seen it in person, and my feelings will change once I get a chance to like interact with it. But right now, I don't know, man. I'm just like I'm kind of done and burnt over this like iWatch.
No, I'm with you. It looks like a smartwatch, and someone really needs to prove that they're doing something different enough with a smartwatch to make it more interesting than the rest.
I don't think that they are based on what they've shown so far. I don't think that they're doing something different enough. You know what I mean? It's just not. It's not there for me. And not to say that nobody else is doing anything different either. But I don't. I just feel like there's got to be somebody. Maybe it's not Apple, but somebody, please do something different with wearables.
Yeah, I mean, we expected so much more from Apple. Apple, put the touchscreen smartphone on the map. Apple made tablets attractive and relevant, and we kind of wanted them to do the same thing with smartwatches. And so far, we're not really seeing that.
Yeah, I think Apple's on-ramp to success with this thing is going to be through the hearts and minds of people, and some of that is marketing. Yes. Get your comments out now.
Yeah,
everyone.
Look at the surveys. It seems like people are really, really interested in this. They're talking about this huge number of existing iOS users who are planning to buy this thing.
And it's because of simple little stupid things like the tapping your wrist and having somebody else's wrist feel the tap. Having close friends like that.
Michael, I'm gonna send you my heartbeat.
Hey, this is my pulse right now. Do you feel it accelerate?
It's so creepy. Oh my gosh, that's gonna be a real thing.
Yeah, no, and it is, and that's how they're going to sell this thing. That's how people are gonna, it's gonna be like iMessage. People with Apple Watches are gonna have their own little closed social network.
You're gonna have your own little blue bubble crew.
Right, exactly right. Yeah, and part of it's elitism, part of it's whatever, but you're gonna feel, if you're a regular person and you're not hardened by the tech world like we are into like reflexively either defending or attacking a particular manufacturer based on blah 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 blah. Like, if you're a normal person and you see people being like, oh, what is that? Oh, you got the Apple Watch? Oh, why is your heart all a titter? Oh, you got a tap from the girl you like. Oh, wow, that's cool. I want one of those. That's how they're going to do this thing. They're not going to be pitching this as like, their lead bullet point is not going to be like, hey, you can get text messages on your wrist. It's not. It's going to be like, let me show you my friggin' heartbeat.
They want to base this off of like a Hallmark Channel movie type of thing.
Exactly.
There's a lot of warm fuzzies inside with the Apple Watch.
Right. Yeah. And the companion app backs all this up. Apple is not doing anything terribly new. I mean, the companion app is just showing us things like a lot of customizability, actually, more
surprising amount for an Apple.
Yeah. Well, they were really specific about that in the keynote, though, that they want you to make this your thing, and this is they said from the beginning this is going to be one of the most customizable products. I think that's something around what they said.
That's interesting. I had forgotten about that.
There's certainly enough different hardware options. You have the software options to respond.
Yeah. There's a lot of I just don't know. I feel like it's going to be a nightmare trying to like order all these different configurations for this watch. For everybody, like, because there's 2 different sizes, there's like 4 different models, different colors, different bands.
Not to mention all the Abbott and Costello conversations that you're going to be having in the store. Like, okay, so this is the Apple Watch edition.
Yeah.
What edition? Okay, so is that the Apple Watch edition? The edition of what?
The edition edition.
Bring me an edition. And which edition?
I hate that name, by the way.
That name is the worst. It's the biggest branding fail. If some advertising magazine hasn't already written about how that's a terrible branding fail, I will.
Apple Watch Edition.
Oh, speaking of wearables, I'm using my Moto 360 as the podcast clock, and y'all know I love my Moto 360. Yeah. But Android Wear isn't responding. Do I? Okay.
Dude, that's a common problem with the 360, by the way. I would always I had to stop using the 360 because of that. I just use the G Watch R now.
Thanks, Texas Instruments.
Yeah, the 17-year-old OMAD.
To its credit, though, the crash, it has recovered from the crash, and the podcast clock is still running.
Eighth graders in 1998 are using that processor in their calculator.
It is true. Man, that processor can power a segmented LCD like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah, you can play some Tetris on a calculator with no problem.
Well, Apple doesn't want you stealing any Apple Watches from the retail stores, and to fight against this, they're installing some jewelry store-like security measures in Apple stores, apparently. I love this story. I don't know why I love this story so much.
It's because you can picture there being this like heist where a bunch of guys are running in and blowing, like dragging the safe out, and he gets armed with a wrist full of lovely rose gold.
Absolutely.
I want to call it that.
We always still want to call it. Yeah. Well, what are they doing? They're throwing in a custom series of safes in Apple retail stores to keep.
So they say. That's the
word.
That makes sense. Especially if these are going to be $5,000, like we've heard.
And they're gonna be weighing the watches for the amount of gold that's supposed to be in it, so they know how much it's supposed to weigh if you bring it back.
They're gonna bite down on it.
Kidding me?
No, that's. I think that somebody reported. I can't remember who said that, but that it's possible that they could have scales so that they weigh it. They know how much the watch weighs with all the gold internal components, because that watch is supposed to have like internal stuff that's gold maybe too. I don't.
What are they gonna? Like, what are they afraid of? People like melting off only the outer layer of the watch.
This is like why coins have ridges around the edges, because when you had gold coins, people would scrape the edges off. It still looks like the coin, but they pocket like a couple grams of gold here and there, and it adds up.
No way. Yeah. Really?
Yeah, okay. It was from us at 9 to 5 Mac. Is that it was we reported that they're working on a special weight scales for retail stores to weigh the amount of gold in individual Apple Watch edition variants.
Wow, that's wild.
Yeah. That's crazy.
This is why they need all these new employees with special training. We're supposedly sending them out. I think this month they're going to go to Apple and get indoctrinated on the whole Apple Watch sales thing, come back and tell their fellow workers. But yeah, it's a big change.
Well, what is it? They made $18 billion in profit. They got the money.
Yeah, they can fly every retail employee into the same training session.
They're okay.
Take a week off. They'll be fine. I'm looking forward to it. But Adam, I feel you. I want to say that I understand your position and I share it. I'm like, every time an Apple Watch story pops up in the feed, I'm like, oh right, we're gonna have to buy one of those at some point.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'll buy it and I'll definitely try to like it. You know, no, I'm gonna treat it, as I would with everything. I'm gonna enjoy it for sure. I'm a bit unsure about the whole thing just yet until I can. At least until I can hold one and swipe on a screen. I just want to go to an Apple store and mess with the thing.
Me too. Yeah. I'm very much looking forward to that, and I'm gonna pre-order it. I'm gonna get one as early as possible, just obviously for review. But it's always fun to be on the ground floor of a company's first offering in a category, and this is like so much more than that. Also for Apple, it's Tim Cook's it's part of Tim Cook's legacy. It's the first product that I think has almost no touches of the Jobsian Apple, So
which worries a lot of people, by the way.
Sure, and that's why it's important. That's why it's going to be worth a close look and worth worth all the excitement.
I don't get on that whole Steve Jobs versus Tim Cook war. He seems like a smart dude. I mean, come on.
I don't think it's a war
necessarily. Person. I mean,
I know everybody's always
when you're looking at a company and you have a CEO who was as iconic as Steve Jobs, you can't help. I mean, it's not that you're saying the new guy sucks. It's that all right. Well, how does the successor measure up to the predecessor?
Well, the one thing that the line that I really do hate to hear is, that wouldn't have happened if Steve Jobs were here.
Oh, that's the worst. Yeah, no, I can't stand speculation like that either. I totally understand.
Like, how do you know?
Yeah. Well, let's talk, just to get us out of the news block here as quickly as we can, because we're right at time. There's another smartwatch coming around. Oh, wait, hold on. The safe. The reason I like the safe in the Apple Store is because they're going to have chargers inside for the Apple Watches, which I think is very smart. And but Swatch is apparently planning a smartwatch that won't need to be charged, which says to me, I probably won't need to pay attention to it because it might suck, right?
Yeah. I am so worried about using the word smartwatch loosely here.
Yeah, like the Withings thing.
They insist it's a smartwatch and mention internet connectivity and the fact that you won't have to charge it. Also, some sort of mobile payment system. Beyond that, it's anyone's guess.
The movement-based recharging.
Yeah, the kinetic recharging.
Yeah, maybe it's that.
But
Maybe
that
it's
can only Stephen, and you mentioned that in your piece, but like
but
that
I
can only
picture-
generate a couple milliamps a day, right?
Okay, so maybe this is going to
Not using
have
very
really,
much.
really low power draw. Tie a low power SoC to something like an interferometric or an e-paper display.
E-ink,
Right.
whatever.
Yeah, that's low current draw, but
And
connectivity.
the payment system wouldn't need anything more than an NFC or a secure element thing. So and that
Right.
doesn't
I
it's
worry
RFID or whatever.
You know, when I picture a Swatch watch, I'm picturing this tiny little thin plastic nothing of a thing, not something bulky enough to have these kinetic chargers in it. It doesn't make a lot of sense for me, and it makes me feel like we're missing something very important here. This is going to be like the Timex, that Iron Man smartwatch that doesn't run apps. It's just a GPS fitness tracker.
Right.
I don't think that's what they're doing here, but something that's not. It doesn't make sense how this could not be charged.
Maybe, just maybe, it runs off of a watch battery.
Yeah, it might be a consumable watch battery.
That would be terrible.
No, yeah, exactly. I'm kind of over replacing batteries and things.
Yeah.
I just wish everything was lithium ion.
Like every time I go over to like my girlfriend's house and I want to bring my Moto 360, I have to like crawl behind my bed, unplug the Moto 360 pedestal, bring that with me, and it's like, I understand.
If you bought a Qi charger for her house, you could eliminate that whole problem.
I ended up doing that. I ended up leaving a Nokia charging plate at her house, but then it's like, then it sucks because I have to put it on the Nokia charging plate and it slides off. It's like, man, my life is hard. Is I think the point I'm trying to make. I've got a very difficult existence.
Times are tough all over.
Times are tough. I guess we all have problems. Speaking of that, I solved one of them, which was getting charged a little too much for my cell phone bill than I felt I owed. I made the switch to T-Mobile recently.
Ooh, congratulations.
Thank you very much. Now, I have a question for you, Stephen. Are you still on T-Mobile? Is that who your carrier is?
I am.
Yeah. And then, Dom, who do you use as your daily driver wireless operator?
Please don't hate me or like me less for this,
Sprint.
but I have Verizon.
Oh, that's fine.
Okay.
Verizon's
Well,
like
No, I mean, no, they're good. Okay, here's the
Picture
thing.
all you desert people using Verizon.
Here's the thing with I would really love to use T-Mobile or AT&T or whatever, but where I'm at, I mean where I live actually, T-Mobile service is almost non-existent. Like the area that I live in. I mean, I know that they have a lot of network space, but the specific area that I'm in is like 1 to 2 bars of service and at maximum like H+, which is not really doable.
Not ideal.
I tested it out. I did turn on like a T-Mobile plan just to see, and I've had various units come in over the years that had T-Mobile service, and it's just not the greatest.
Doesn't work out for you.
I would love to, but I gotta have it working great at home.
I had a similar thing, Dom. I had a review unit that had no T-Mobile review coverage a couple years ago, and I was like, man, this is terrible. I'm never going to use these guys. And then exactly a year ago, I got another one, and I was like, oh wow, how do I have LTE everywhere? This is crazy. And now,
I still have no bars in my house. I'm just so cheap that I'm not willing to pay more for actual cell reception in my
good
home.
for you for standing your ground, Stephen. The discussion I had with Anton about proposing this series, because our audience is largely non-US. So, the discussion was like, well, nobody outside the U.S. is going to care about this. I'm like, that's a good point. So I wanted to have a 5-part series originally. We bumped it down to 3. So it's going to be a 3-part series over time, probably over about 2 months. And right now I'm still firmly in the honeymoon phase. So that's what this initial piece is about. You can go read it at Pocketnow if you want to. And the second one will be about international travel, or the second one will be about phones and coverage. The third will be about international travel. And eventually I'll come up with a verdict. But I got to tell you guys, like, I mean, it's crazy. It's like I was in a freaking commercial. I went into the T-Mobile store and I was like, everything I asked about that could possibly have a positive response was like that happened. I was like, so this is what, roughly like $20 or $30 less than what I'm paying now? Yeah. Okay, I get basically the same thing? Yeah. Now, what about international? Yeah, you're connected as soon as your wheels are down. Okay. So what's the termination fee? There is no termination fee. Why not? There's no contract. There's no contract. Is there an activation fee?
I don't believe you.
Like, yeah, seriously, it's like I was having a strange dream.
That seems like one of the, ironically, or coincidentally, whatever you want to put it, it seemed like that AT&T commercial where that chick is answering all of these questions.
Yeah,
Yes, and Dawson rolls up and he's like, "No, you don't have to give me special treatment just because I'm a celebrity." And yeah, it was exactly like that, man. Except it was at a T-Mobile store. So yeah. We'll see. Maybe guys, maybe in 3 months I'll come back and I'll have finished the series with like a ringing anti-endorsement. I'll be like, "No, don't. The coverage sucks. It's not worth it." Blah blah blah. But right now I'm loving it. So. Blah blah blah.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Yeah,
So-
McDonald's.
And on a related matter in terms of national brands, little sad time. If I had a beer or anything else in this booth, I would pour it out for our friends.
I'm not pouring out my
The
sparkling
RadioShack.
water.
No, that's expensive stuff, man. You want to hold on to the man. Sad face, 100% on the RadioShack.
I'm looking. I had a '93 RadioShack catalog over there somewhere. Good stuff in that.
No way. Yes. Oh, I wish you had it. Do you have a Tandy computer or a calculator handy that we can use to pay tribute?
Sadly, no.
So RadioShack, it was an American retailer for our non-U.S. listeners that has been around for over 80 years, 90 years, something like that.
Long time.
Got its start right here in Boston, selling ham radio components and electrical components on the wharves, apparently to sailors. I don't know how that worked out, but man, oh man, it is the place I got my first phone at. I'll talk about that in a bit. They have filed for bankruptcy protection and are going to be rebranded as essentially glorified Sprint stores. Stephen,
Well,
Orton, do you have what's the real story?
I want to be a little more nostalgic about this, but let's be honest. RadioShack has been essentially not a Sprint store, but something other than RadioShack for like 2 decades now.
Yeah.
It's a battery cell phone store.
You're right, and you've not been able to roll up and get your diodes or transistors.
No, I was shopping for capacitors last night, and they had like 3 options in stock, none of them with the temperature ratings that I needed. It's no good.
I mean, honestly, and I said this to a couple other people, for as long as, for the good long period of the past, I could never think of a good reason to walk into a RadioShack.
This is a good point. And they said it. They knew it, that the market was basically outgrowing them. Yeah.
No, but they didn't grow with the market is the problem, I think.
Yes.
It's not that the market outgrew them, it's that they just kind of stayed where they were and were cool with that.
To a degree, but at the same time, they were introducing new stuff toward the end there. I mean, you may make the argument it was too little too late, I agree, but they got in on the drone thing, I think about the same time Brookstone did. What, Stephen?
Everybody sells toys. I mean, you can buy a drone at your Verizon store.
Yeah, this is true.
But another one of their big defenses was that people don't build things anymore. Now, Stephen, I know you're an exception to that, and so am I to a degree, but not in the electronics field. And I can understand that. Like, people don't need to go buy components like resistors anymore because all these components are now on devices that most people use are now miniaturized to an insane degree. You can't really work on, like, if your tablet breaks down, you can't really bust it open and be like, oh yes, that component became unsoldered. I need to go to RadioShack for some.
You can replace headphone jacks.
Yes, that is true.
That's all they'd be good for then.
That's about it.
They would still be going out of business if that were the case.
And also, we do have to acknowledge that RadioShack had serious customer service problems. SB Nation had that great story.
We make sure RadioShack, we need to share our zip code.
Oh, yeah. The SB Nation had a great story, like, written by a RadioShack employee about how terribly their retail employees were treated. I never really went into a RadioShack where the people working there looked happy. I was never treated terribly well, but I mean, I'm exaggerating slightly, but it's true. Even when I walked into RadioShack with people that I knew working behind the counter, it was just, it was a really crappy energy in the place, and it was really sad.
20 years ago, the guys in my local RadioShack knew me by name when I would go into the store.
Oh man, see, that's awesome. That's a great memory, And seriously, my first mobile phone ever, I bought at a RadioShack. It was a Sprint phone, and they had it set up there. It was like a 30-minute transaction, and I had my first cell phone, and that's a treasured memory. So we're gonna miss RadioShack as a sense. Do we know if the brand is going to be retained, or are these all going to be rebranded as Sprint stores?
The stores, I believe, are becoming Sprint externally, but they're going to have like a RadioShack kiosk inside, so it'll live on to some extent.
Even less of the stuff that they already don't have.
Just batteries. That's all it's going to be.
They're gonna sell external batteries for the phones that they sell at the Sprint store. That's where you can pick them.
Right.
There you go.
Yeah.
And maybe a drone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe a drone or two. Just like at your local supermarket, you can get a drone at the new RadioShack. Yeah, that reminds me. There used to be a. I know we have to move on, but there used to be a RadioShack near me. No, a Blockbuster Video near my college that had a RadioShack within it. So in order to pay my bill in college, my Sprint bill, I would have to go to the Blockbuster Video. And you go to the RadioShack inside the Blockbuster Video. Man, that was weird. Those were strange times in 2001.
Blockbuster and RadioShack. Those are like stories to tell your grandkids.
Exactly right. And now
Remember,
Office
you
Depot
had to
as well.
rewind the tape, or they charged you.
Yes, please be kind. Rewind.
Yes.
Absolutely. And I always had trouble rewinding my DVDs, but then Netflix came along and it was all right. We're going to move on to our next segment here, and everyone, wish everyone who's going to get laid off at RadioShack luck, seriously, because there's some real people getting affected by this, and it sucks real hard. So, best of luck to all you guys and gals affected by this. Guys and gals, what am I, 85? Sorry, everybody.
All you whippersnappers.
Before we hop on to our next segment, I do want to call out somebody in the Q&A who has left one of the best comments I've ever read. Not a question, says Keegan Anderson, but I was so intrigued by this podcast. My soup just exploded in the microwave because I forgot it was cooking. Keegan, you are welcome, sir. Happy to provide an intriguing podcast for you.
That's never a bad thing when your soup explodes because you're interested in something else.
Exactly. I love it.
Yeah.
That is the best compliment we've gotten in a little bit. So before we get into any more Q&As, which we will do before listener mail, let's hop on into Tough Spot. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff, everybody. That's my favorite drop. This is a segment, Dom, since you haven't been with us before. This is a segment about hard choices and tough decisions made in imaginary land on the heels of a hypothetical. Today's Tough Spot comes to us courtesy of a listener who wrote in, who's written in before, Greg Vogt, and he has a rather intriguing question for us. If you had to purchase a phone and use it for the length of a 2-year contract, and your only choices were a cheaply made smartphone running your preferred OS, or ideal hardware for you but running on your least favorite OS, which one would you choose? Also, what would your favorite OS and least favorite OS be?
Well, can we set we gotta set like some kind of rule here, or benchmark. What are we defining as cheaply made?
So I think cheaply made can be subjectively interpreted. I think I would consider the LG G2. I thought felt cheaply made. People are going to disagree with me on that.
No, I think we got to dial this down.
530.
Well, I mean, are we talking about cheaply made in terms of budget or in terms of build quality or?
Yeah, I don't think we even mean like a Lumia 520 or something. I think we're talking.
Are we talking like Moto X or Moto G territory, Moto E territory?
I think it's even simpler than that. I think the question boils down to: would you rather have your favorite software on a crap phone?
Yeah, it's got to be
would you rather have a
phone.
Crap software on a great piece of hardware?
Not like a good, but low-end, affordable. I mean like a knockoff, no-name, absolute rubbish, resistive touchscreen.
And so you're saying, would I rather have an LG Dare then, or something?
Oh man, I haven't heard that in a long time. Yeah, right. Like something like that. Just
Oh gosh.
Hardware that you would not want to. Even.
Wouldn't wish on your worst enemy.
We're so sensitive now to different build elements that. I wouldn't even want to carry a phone that doesn't have the oleophobic coating on the Gorilla Glass because you know how it feels different.
Jesus.
It's like rubbing on a storm window with your thumb. It's like not at all a luxurious feel.
Ooh, what about like the matte finish on the back of that the Yoda phone? Yeah. What if that was on the front of a phone?
Ew, that would not be any fun at all. No, I wouldn't like that. Blech.
I'm not a fan of matte finishes on phones either.
Yeah, no. Even though I hate fingerprints. But matte finish on a screen, it doesn't give me the puff, no.
As to this question, I think I have to go with the good phone on an OS I hate.
Me too, man.
It'd be driving me crazy dealing with crappy hardware. I can learn to, if I can't sideload apps, it sucks. I can live with it. If the premium apps that I want aren't available, I'll survive somehow, but a phone that's just laggy and is a pain to use, or I guess the simplest things, would drive me crazy a month or two into this, let alone 2 years. You got to go with high end.
Completely agree. Now, can you be specific, Stephen? Can you tell us what that would be? What is your least favorite OS that you would put on this lovely piece of hardware? And
I don't know.
What lovely piece of hardware would you choose?
I dislike a lot of these other platforms that are these non-Android platforms for different reasons. I don't know if I like Windows Phone or iOS less. And I wouldn't even say BlackBerry because I feel like the Android compatibility there is cheating, and that's like, yeah, I can get away with still running my app. So,
right.
I don't know.
It's tricky. Tom, do you have some thoughts on this?
Well, it could go one of two ways. I mean, let's put it out there though that all of the operating systems that you'll find running on a smartphone these days aren't all too bad, like altogether. You know, like none of them are horrible.
Do the same things.
None of them are horrible. So I wouldn't really be worried about having to put up with my least favorite mobile operating system. That wouldn't really be a big deal if I were getting good hardware in exchange. But on the other hand, if we're calling something cheaply made, like something like the 2014 Moto G, then I'm all in for that, and I can live with that for 2 years.
Oh, see, that's no. I feel like no. Yeah, I feel like someone is sitting there offering you like a 1978 Datsun, and you're saying like, oh yeah, this is sort of like a 2004 Kia. Like, no, these are not the same things. You know what I mean? Like, I think you have to say something like no nicer than a Lumia 5.
What's the leaded gas equivalent of smartphones?
Yeah, I would definitely go with the least favorite OS on the quality build. Then.
Me too. Yeah, no, I think we're all on the same.
You gotta go with Symbian. How's that?
Oh, yeah, I thought about it. Jules dropped a Symbian reference in the chat. There's no way I could put up with Symbian. I think the furthest afield I would go, and this would be a fun experiment actually. I would try and experiment with like Yola on like Sailfish on a really, really nice piece of hardware. I'd actually think that would be a kind of a fun experience. But really, if we're keeping it to the big three, no. If we're keeping it to the big three, though, I would have to put iOS. iOS is my least favorite one to use on a day-to-day basis, and I'd have to put that on some really slick, awesome, hot hardware.
See, I don't know which one
delivers on the hardware.
I don't have like a. I guess I don't know if I have a least favorite. I have lack of experience in Windows Phone and BlackBerry, so one of those two. I would probably, for me, I'd probably say that BlackBerry would probably be my least favorite, just because I have absolutely no experience with the new operating system there.
Sure. And I hear a distant rumbling as everyone from the Crackberry forums tries to fit into the podcast at once to take your head off.
Since we're talking 2-year contract, ideally you'd want to be using a platform that's still being updated 2 years from now, which BlackBerry not necessarily guaranteed.
Well, we'll see. I mean, and you know, I don't think we need to take that into consideration. Let's just assume that everything is going to stay as it does. But good point, Stephen. If this were,
there are average people that do not update their phone once through a 2-year contract.
This is true.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I have my answer. Actually, I have my specific answer. Stephen, that Sharp Android folder that we saw last week or the week before. Remember that? I want that. I want a clamshell phone that's built for Android, but I would run Sailfish on it. I think that would be the coolest friggin' phone. I would have so much fun with that thing.
Oh God!
Yola, can you guys make this happen?
Let's bring back the clamshells, the T9 texting. I'm all
pretty
about.
T9. I was just talking about T9 the other day.
Where are those buttons out,
dude? When I
heard from Phone Scoop. Yeah,
when I first got a smartphone, I was like, "Where's the T9 keyboard?" Like I was literally, it was not there. Like I was looking for it. I had to find find a hack to get a T9 keyboard because that was the only way I knew how to text.
Where do I do my Palm graffiti input here?
Yes. And I feel like back in the day, like some earlier versions of Windows Mobile had the T9 input.
Yeah.
Like if you got the first HTC Touch, I think you could still use T9 on the virtual keyboard, which was just so cool.
I'm sure there's keyboards now that support.
Oh yeah, there are now. But when it first came out, it was like, let's move away from the T9. Like it was supposed to be some kind of like, why do you gotta change something? If it's not broken, don't fix it.
Yeah, it's working great for me.
I get T9 all day with no eyes, just
under the
hand
desk,
behind my back. Yeah, under the
Yeah.
desk. Yeah, you have the little notches on the buttons where you can feel which number it
Yes.
is.
Yeah. On the 4 and the 6 or the 5 or whatever.
Yeah.
I remember feeling my brain change when I realized that I could use T9. And like it was almost like my thumb was on autopilot. I was watching it go. I'm like, oh wow, this is way easier than tapping 3 times for an R.
See, I never caught on with me. I never had a text plan for my dumb phone, so I never really texted until I had a smartphone. I never developed the memory for that.
You are the eternal retro throwback dude. I love it. You've not changed at all. It's perfect.
I aim to please.
Every time I use my Nexus 9, Steven, I think of you, and legit, pretty much. And I pick it up to read a lot.
I got mine back. It no longer has the awful spots on the backlight.
I saw
good.
the oh my gosh, it was so funny. I found you on Twitter last night, and I was
found
looking
both
at
of
your
my tweets.
progression of tweets, and it was like, hey guys, this is probably the only time you'll want to buy a Nexus 9. It's half
then,
off. It's so
I hate
great.
this.
And then like 2 tweets later, it was like, damn it, Nexus 9.
They came through for me.
It was so funny though, just to see that progression.
Yeah.
Right there. It was
Womp womp.
Every time I use it,
about that.
I'm like, oh, Steven, I'm glad that you still have this. Jules is making some nightmare fuel happen in the video feed, so I'm not going to select that screen at all. But, click on it if you want to see what the F is going on there. I will use this as a nice opportunity to jump us into the final segment of today's show, as long as I can get Jules on the board to do it for me. Folks, it is time to answer some listener mail. Terrific. There are emailed submissions from 3 people. I want to restate that someone has asked his last name to be obscured, so let's please not read it accidentally. Emailed submissions from William Lee, from Frank, and our old friend VJV. Stephen, would you care to take the first one on the queue here?
Absolutely. William Lee writes, hi, y'all. You asked for students to write in, so here I am. And here's my choice, MacBook Air. First of all, I don't think the Pro 3 versus MacBook Pro, Surface Pro 3 versus MacBook Pro, a competition is a fair one since their form factors are far apart. And secondly, I put my money where my mouth is, and I bought and currently use a Haswell MacBook Air. Now, let me explain my choice. I was quite attracted to the Surface and its stylus when I was deciding. Handwriting is quite useful for taking notes in science classes, but what ultimately pushed me over the edge was the insanely good battery life of the Air and the fact that it's a real computer, not a hybrid device. He says, sure, there are good things about being a tablet as well as a laptop, but with the Air, he can type an entire essay on his lap without even thinking about things like how to balance it. I mean, that keyboard for the Surface Pro 3, very nice, but it's not the most sturdy thing in the world. And guess what? He says quite a few of his classmates are envious of the Air. He believes the Air is cheaper than the Pro 3, slightly better integrated graphics, and the additional USB port and presence of a full-sized SD card slot are great extras to have. This is just his opinion on the Pro 3 versus Air topic, but he wishes he could take handwritten notes for chemistry, no touchscreen there, but the trade-offs are worth it.
Yeah, Dom, sorry to Dom, and sorry for listeners for not setting up the context of that. I forgot that was the first one we had lined up. This was in response to a discussion we had last week or 2 weeks ago about the Surface Pro 3 versus the MacBook Air as a student accessory. We asked college students to write in and tell us which one they chose. So thank you, William. That is good to hear. And if anyone else has a different experience, if anyone else uses a Surface Pro 3 at school, we know they're selling. Microsoft's moving through millions of these things. And some of them got to be going to students, especially with that, up to $800 they're offering for a MacBook Air trade-in, or up to $650 or something like that. So, we know they're moving. So students, write in. Tell us things. We broadcast from a college, but it says about me as we move on to the next piece of listener mail from Frank. I want to add some context to why banks are dropping Windows Phone app. We asked for context, and I'm really glad to have it. I'm just really glad to remember once again. app users, something that you can do on the website. Investment. Keep up good work, Frank. Wow. We wanted word from the inside, and we got it. In the middle of me reading that email, Jules, I don't know if you guys heard any of it.
No, we didn't hear any of that, but it will be on the high quality version. So there's that.
Yeah.
Whole thing.
What?
This is fantastic. Michael has turned into this like dubstep talking transformer.
Oh, that's terrible.
No, it's kind of awesome.
Yeah, it is. Just dropped a beat.
Because it's not even like steady interference. It's just when Michael's speaking. It sounds like it's like a talk box guitar effect or something.
That is so awesome.
Well, that's just terrific. That's two good shows.
I'm just gonna start beatboxing, dude, and you can just drop the beat.
Max headroom over here.
Switch mics, Jules. Switch mics. Stand by.
Guys, I've switched to the built-in mic. Does this solve it at all, or is this a data issue?
You're
Yes.
All right, so it must have been the board. Okay. Are you going to be able to grab my stuff anyway? Okay. All right. So anyway, do you guys need me to read that email from Frank again?
Yes, please. All I heard was
Just give us
dubstep.
the high point.
Okay. Basically, Frank is an employee of one of the banks we mentioned in our podcast about losing Windows Phone support for a couple banks, and unfortunately, he's making the point that the excuse is accurate, that Windows Phone simply does not have enough people using the banking apps, not just like a percentage of customers. And now my friggin' mail app isn't loading, so I just have to riff on it. It just basically said it is way too few customers. It's exactly what the banks reported in their press release.
It's what we thought. There's just not the user interest there. It sucks just as bad, and I still feel that even if this is 1% of users, these banks have so many customers that I don't know, it's maybe not worth their effort to develop a new app, but to keep the existing one going, even if it's only 50,000 people using it. Banks spend money on all sorts of crap they probably don't need. Why not give people a bone with the app? But
yeah, specifically, while Windows Phone makes up 3% of the mobile market, they make up less than 1% of our mobile user customer base. Not 1% of our customers, but less than 1% of mobile users.
Okay.
Plus, that's backed up by another metric that says most app users use it to check balances and find branches, something you can do on the website. I get it. I understand the logic. I also don't understand how it could possibly be so expensive. Our friend Nick Gray at HTC Source has worked in some of these instances before, and he said, listen, development costs are crazy. When you're a big corporation like this, you don't go find one dude to maintain your app. You hire an expensive team, and that's...
Bank of America has something like... It was Bank of America and Chase. I just pulled up Bank of America's data. It has 20 million customers. So even if, let's say, 1 in 20 there are using the mobile app in the first place, and 1% of those are on Windows Phone, that's still... what, 10,000 users?
You know what they should do? You know what they should do is like Wells Fargo, right? Their mobile app is literally just an app with a web page inside of it.
Yeah, it's like that new Facebook Lite.
It's seriously identical. It's just a web interface, and that can't be hard, right? I mean, just embedding your mobile banking site inside of an app and publishing it.
I'm sorry, Dom. I was working on a technical issue over here. Did you raise the point about? By the way, you guys tell me immediately if I become Daft Punk again. Thanks, Mark Lane. Were you guys talking at all about mobile deposits? Because I feel like that's one of the few things the app can do that the web page can't.
I was just saying, the Wells Fargo app is literally just their web interface inside of an app shell.
Oh, it's an app wrapper. Yeah.
That's all it is, and it works fine for me. I mean, I can transfer things and stuff like that.
Literally, the only reason I use my banking app on my phone is to do check deposits. Of course, this is an online-only bank, so I can't just take them into a branch anyway, but that's a big draw for me.
And like I understand that it's a little bit disingenuous, or it could appear so that I'm so bent out of shape about this, because I can just take an iPhone or an Android or one of the 50 phones I've laying around and do a mobile deposit. No, ultimately I can survive. But what if I bought a Windows phone and it's my only phone for 2 years? And I
But
can't
in
do
Bank
that
of
anymore.
America, you can deposit a check at any ATM, can't you?
But what the shit, man? I just got blizzarded in for like 4 days. I couldn't have gone to the bank, and I just did a mobile deposit.
I have never made a mobile deposit ever.
They're fun.
Gotta do it, man. It's a lot of fun.
I don't get checks enough to do that, dude. Like,
you gotta get some checks, bro. Just have some people write you some checks.
That's fine. Yeah.
Everybody listening, write Dom a check.
Them out.
There's an address at the end here.
Please write me a check. Yeah.
All right, let's go on this third one. This is from.
While you're at writing checks, just go ahead and throw OMAC processors and everything too.
Yes.
Absolutely. I want OMAP 3 powered checkbooks before the day is out.
Because it's 1998, kids.
It is. Let's all wake up. Let's fix Y2K while we're at it. Hey guys, and maybe ladies, says VJV. I have bought my mother-in-law a Lumia 520 the past 2 years because they're stupid cheap. True. And she is prone to breaking them.
You go to Costco, get the 6-pack?
Yeah. That would be awesome.
I figure that, like you, I'm the de facto IT guy for my family. I would like to upgrade her to a more mobile OS that I am more familiar with, Android. She is familiar with Windows Phone and has a Windows computer, so she is comfortable with the live tiles. Is there a phone I could get her so that I could help her when the inevitable call comes, or should I just suck it up and learn to help her with Windows Phone? Thanks as always, VJ. Go Gators. VJ, I want to rephrase the question that you've put to us. My mother has something she likes. I don't like it. So should I get her something I like so that I can help her when something goes wrong with the thing that I get her that she doesn't like as much as the thing that she likes that she has now? VJ, you need to learn Windows Phone. I mean, it's so rare. Steven, you feel free to weigh in when I'm done. Okay. Listen, your mother's got a Windows computer. She knows what the tiles do. She knows she's got the tiles on her phone. She's happy with her setup. And VJ, if Windows Phone was really difficult to learn and learn how to support and all that kind of stuff, I would say, man, totally switch over to Android. But I just don't see uprooting your mother's whole sense of everything, just so that you could occasionally lend her support when something goes wrong. I think you would be a better person if you learned a little bit about Windows Phone. Now I'm done being a fanboy, Steven. Why don't you bring some rationality into the conversation?
Well, no, you do have a point there. And at this point, it also seems like there's a degree of if it's not broke, don't fix it. And I don't see there's a pressing need to move Mom onto a new platform here. That said, I feel like we don't give some of these older users the credit they deserve with the ability to adapt to new platforms. I've been sort of exposing my mom to smartphones for the first time here. This is Android, but she has no experience whatsoever, and she's taking to it with surprising ease. And I don't think it would be that difficult for someone who had Windows Phone experience to similarly. In fact, it'd be easier there. They know how to use a touchscreen, which my mom had no idea how to do. So I don't think the barrier for entry is that high. Also, there are probably launchers you can get on Android that do a fair degree of reproducing what you see on Windows Phone. No. I know it's not. No, nothing good enough. But
I mean, Themer has a lot of cool ones that look beautiful, but
if that's the concern.
Essentially, it's Android underneath. It's never going to be the same, and especially in terms of Windows Phone's responsiveness on less awesome hardware, you're not going to be able to replicate that kind of smoothness. So, yeah.
I say there's two options here. You either learn Windows Phone or you both get Symbian devices.
Yeah. Go S60. Get her PureView 808. See how that goes for everybody. All right.
You both have to learn new things.
Exactly. Then everyone gets to broaden his or her horizon, and things are just lovely. We've got some stuff in the Q&A, guys. Thank you for your listener mail, everyone, for writing in. That comes to us at podcast@pocketmail. Jesus Christmas. Podcast@pocketnow.
Network biz.
Wasn't there an email service called Pocket Mail at one point?
That
or
sounds
Rocket
like
Mail.
something.
Rocket Mail was like a spam house, I think. or maybe not. I don't know. Hey, Q&A time. The most upvoted Q&As kind of filter to the top of the list. Rocket Mail. Yeah. God, I can't keep focused. Any news about the HTC smartwatch? I'm really looking forward to it, asks Neil Esrani. We haven't heard anything new, have we?
Not for a long time, no.
Something in the last month or... Here, there was something last month.
Our friend Flo over at Greenbot made the point on Twitter recently that HTC had promised one by December, but of course that got pushed back. So, yeah, no, there's...
Now there's a rumor... No, Bloomberg was talking last month about a smartwatch coming up in March, possibly.
Oh, you mean MWC time?
Yeah. a little show.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing with that stuff is, I mean, let's just be all honest here. It's gonna happen. I mean, come on.
It's got to. They have to play in this space. Yeah.
They will, and everybody else will too. Anybody else that hasn't yet is gonna. I mean, it's just a thing.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a thing.
Yeah, I agree.
We'll probably even see a Nexus watch at some point.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. Like, I mean, and one that's a little bit better than the first LG watch, which
I guess that was technically the Nexus watch, right?
It was, well, untechnically it.
I mean,
yeah, it was.
Untechnically, it was the first kind of run at the Android Wear space and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was the first no frills Android Wear watch, in addition to being the first one. So
yeah, I think that's totally gonna happen.
I'm a little concerned about the rumors that say HTC might do their own software for a smartwatch.
Oh, yeah, that's concerning.
Great idea.
No Tizen-like solutions, please.
Oh.
Yeah, I just, I think the first exposure I'm going to have to one of those is going to be the Alcatel One Touch watch, which I'm looking forward to seeing because that runs its own Java stack and whatever. But like, I'd rather be on a big platform with a lot of widespread support. This is why.
Pebble?
Yeah.
I mean, here it's not on the rundown here, but when Pebble was talking about its plans for,
they just sold 1 million watches, by the way.
No, they have they're going to release a new one with a new software or something.
Yeah,
right?
whole new software experience. They're not clear exactly how it's going to work, but
here's a question I have for you: do you think they're going to go like spec'd out color screen and like all?
I hope not.
Do you think they're going to scale back, stick to their originals, but make it a little bit like that much better?
There must be a lot of pressure for them to.
Issues.
I'm sure they're feeling the pressure to do something that can like compete on the glitz and glamour with Android Wear Apple Watch.
But in that department, I mean, sure, their sales are great and people love Pebble, and there's a good reason to. There's a lot of plus sides to having a Pebble. But yeah, they are getting kind of murdered in that area as far as just the keeping up with everybody. But again, it's like the Windows Phone thing. Do you have to just do the Me Too game, or can you do something different, which is what they did originally?
I think if anybody's going to survive on the merits, because we know Samsung will survive with the Tizen stuff just because they're Samsung, they can pour money into it, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But if anybody's going to survive and deserve to survive in terms of running a separate smartwatch platform outside of Apple and Android's offerings, it's Pebble. They've built a great ecosystem already. They have a great product. They're still selling them. And I'm looking forward to seeing the next iteration because it does need to be a significant upgrade, though. I don't think they can just do the same. They might be able to get away with another black and white screen. I mean, Kindle is doing it because that's the best use case for an e-paper display in terms of our field.
Or what if they just do like a black and white like OLED display?
I don't think that would result in the same battery savings that they're getting on the e-paper. I would rather see a higher resolution e-paper display or even a Mirasol display so we can get some color in there.
Yeah.
I don't know about Mirasol's color saving abilities. I still have to call Qualcomm.
Mirasol would use the same power, color, black and white.
Yeah. I mean that would be you're right. There has to be some significant upgrade happening here. And it can't just come in the form of software. It's got to be all around.
Yeah. So we'll see. I want to know if they're doing anything at MWC, but do we know if they are?
It felt like they were talking about way further out into the year.
Yeah.
I almost feel like there's more pressure on Pebble than there is on Apple Watch.
Yeah, because even the Pebble Steel, as pretty as it wasn't a huge iteration over the original. It was just kind of a polishing act. Yeah, and that's
I don't
still
know.
a year old now.
I think that was so important, though, for them, because the Pebble Steel really looks good, and the original Pebble really doesn't as we go further into this space. The original Pebble just kind of gets uglier and uglier.
Chunky.
Yeah. Anyway, I saw Eric Majagowski at CES, and I wanted to go say hi to him. He was walking the opposite direction in the hallway from me, and I decided to turn around and go catch up to him and say hello. And that took me like 4 minutes, because dude is like 7 feet tall, and I could not catch up to him. I was running to catch up with him.
Easily through the crowd.
Yeah, that is true. I never lost sight of him. No question about it. How easy is it to adjust to a Windows phone when coming from Android? Asks Anthony, either Ianello or Laniello. Anthony, it's not. It's about the same as it would be to jump from Android to iOS, or iOS to Windows Phone, or Windows Phone to iOS. It's like, it's not exceedingly difficult. It just takes time to get used to how it does things differently. I think a lot of it depends on you. I think a lot of it will depend on how adaptable you are, how open to change you are. But you can configure Windows Phone to the start screen to basically however you want it to look.
Yeah, you'll get used to the mechanics of it. I think the bigger problem ongoing is going to be the app issue with Windows Phone.
No question about it. Yeah.
We'll get together with VJ and
Switch. It's a Freaky Friday.
Work something out.
Exactly
right.
Learn
together.
Right. Keegan Anderson screams, "This is why I got distracted. You guys are awesome." I presume, Keegan, you're referring to the Daft Punk dubstep drop.
That was awesome.
Michael was dialing AOL.
I was. Michael, would you buy a phone with stock Star Trek Elcars skin? Yeah, you darn right I would. God. Jolly Jacobs, I would buy the hell out of an Elcars phone. And I just bought an Elcars keyboard, by the way. I really respect Pocketnow for its fairness, says Ahmad Hassan, regarding coverage of all platforms. Just saying. Thanks, Ahmad. We appreciate it, and it's fun to cover all these platforms. It's a great time. But in order to continue covering all these platforms with alacrity, we need to leave this studio on time, so we still have a home here at WERS. And before we go, I want to say thank you to you both. Stephen, you're always great. You're the greatest wingman since Wolfman Hollywood. And I want to say, Dom, thank you for joining us. Thank you. You were a wonderful guest and well-spoken, and I'm really glad that you came on the show, and thank you for carving out the time in your day to do that.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Hey, when we will see you at MWC, and maybe if we're able to find a room a little smaller than the one we had at CES for the podcast, that'll cut down the echo a little bit, and we have the room, I would really like to have you as a guest on again.
I will have an Airbnb at which we can do this thing at.
Let's do that. Please give me a report on its echo and bounce and acoustic qualities, and we'll do it.
I will measure it. I will bring my my meter with me and make sure I take those measurements for you, sir.
Please do. Thank you very much, sir. I do appreciate it. Dom, tell everyone where they can find you on the internet.
You can find me at, of course, 9to5Mac and 9to5Google, but youtube.com/Dom is where you'll find a lot of my video content, reviews, things like that, and twitter.com/MacMixing.
Thank you very much, sir. And that is going to do it for episode 134. A note on music, listeners, our transition track is called Radiation. It's a ringtone you might recognize from some Android smartphones. It is also a full-length song by the very talented, very funny Ali Spagnola. She's got millions of fans around the world. You should be one of them. Visit her YouTube channel, youtube.com/AliSpags, and her website, alispagnola.com, both linked in the description below. That's going to do it for this episode of the Pocketnow Weekly, produced by Jules Wong, who I don't thank enough. Well, I thank him off the air a lot, but I don't thank him on the air enough. He's tweeting hard news about the news at Greenpoint0 and sounding sonorous at WERS.org. Don't forget to trade in your car for some nice tax benefits. Also, be sure to find the hosts on the Twitter sphere. Steven's tweets, well, they're like rare little bits of adamantium, and you can vie for your chance at a mention or a retweet even at Stephen Schenk, StephenSchenck. Dom, as he mentioned, is on Twitter. He's tweeting about grass-fed life, Spotify songs, and he's dropping slick new videos at youtube.com/Dom. And, of course, his Twitter handle is at MacMixing, MacMixing. And it's the weekend, folks, so you can bet I'll be talking Trek, traveling, and tired old tangents at Captain 2 Phones. It's Captain, the number 2 Phones. And I also have a new Star Trek uniform to show off, so I'm going to get drunk and post that to Instagram.
Of course you do.
You know. Pocketnow is also on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and Google+, and it all comes together real nice like at pocketnow.com. If you enjoy the podcast, please help us spread the word for the love of God. Share it with your friends who love mobile tech, and also leave a review on iTunes, Stitcher, Xbox, wherever podcasts are heard. As always, we thank our hosts at WERS. We thank our new sponsor at LD West. Hoorah! And most importantly, we thank you so much for listening. The Pocketnow Weekly will be back with more mobile tech talk in 7 days.